I want you to understand, church, that God's promises are powerful. And we then must learn how to be able to step into God's promises. Though He has promises for us, thousands of them, we still have a responsibility to pray for those promises to be birthed into our lives, or for us to be able to see them executed in our lives, or for us to embrace them. And so God's promises, they are not bound by human limitations. See, when God promises you something, I don't care what tries to get in your way, thwart the promise, hinder you. God's promises, they are more powerful than anything the devil can throw at you, or anything human behavior could try to put in your path to limit you from accessing God's promises. And so the Bible in fact says that, God says that heaven and earth will first pass away before one jot or tittle of my word will fall to the earth. A tittle, by the way, is a construction, a grammatical construction that's smaller than a semicolon. Next time you write a semicolon, a dot, a comma below the dot, a tittle is smaller than that. God says, when I promise you something, even when it comes down to a grammatical construction that's smaller than your semicolon, I will first let heaven and earth pass away. Get rid of heaven, get rid of earth before I let one aspect of my promise that I've spoken to you fall to the face of the earth. I want you to know God is powerful. And when He promises you something, you better believe that He has enough power, strength, wisdom, fight, enough chutzpah to make sure that He plows through whatever needs to be plowed through so you can embrace the promise of God. And so I want you to understand that when God promises something, they represent His vision of your future. You want to know what you're going to look like tomorrow? What you'll look like 10 years from now? What your kids' lives will be like 10, 15, 20 years from now? You need to then get a hold of the promise of God in His Word. It gives you a picture of your children's lives tomorrow. It gives you a picture of your future, because His promises represent His plan, His ideal, His vision for our lives. When you want to see your life align itself with the promise of God, there are thousands of them in the Scripture. And so when you're going through difficulties, get a hold of the promise of God that speaks to that situation and pray the promise. And when you pray the promise, believing it, standing on it, trusting in it, that promise will explode in your life and begin to take over that dark situation and change the situation so it looks like God's future that He's planned for you.